heard roar like that before.
It looks like it this time it's tracking right for us.
This is a tornado emergency.
Six twisters plowed through 4 states in the Midwest Sunday.
Parents suffered unbearable moments of uncertainty. They'd sent their little ones off to school.
We've lost everything. We don't have anything left.
I don't know what that lady's name is, but she had 3 little kids underneath her.
When we came out, the house and everything.
There will be enormous grief that has to be absorbed, but you will not travel that path alone.
It had been a couple years since I had chased, and the last time I chased, the last tornado that I was on was the Joplin, Missouri tornado, which was an EF5 tornado, and I walked through that damaged path. So I was left with kind of a bitter taste in my mouth, or, you know, kind of a bad memory. So while I was excited to go chasing, I always knew in the back of my mind that, you know, what these storms are capable of doing.
I'm meteorologist Jacqueline Whittle. I'm positioned in Oakley, Kansas right now. This is western Kansas, and we've actually pulled over on the side of the road to assess more model data just to see exactly where we should position ourselves.
When we first left, Mark and I didn't really know each other all that well, so it was kind of a get-to-know-you period that first 3-4 hours in the car.
We're actually trying to get down south of this cloud cover where the greater heating was. Hot, moist air goes up into the storm, condenses to form clouds, and slowly spins. So you can actually see there's striations around that storm. And that is actually the main center, what we call the mesocyclone. And this is one of these incredible storms because you can actually see into it.
This is a supercell, what we call an LP cell, so low precipitation. Mark, up until now, there really hasn't been too much danger with the storm.
In the beginning, we thought it was going to be a fun chase trip, usual ones, you know, we get to see really amazing thunderstorms.
For me, this is an incredible storm. I just love this. This is amazing.
Maybe some tornadoes would be great, and then it changed into something entirely different and became one of the most wrenching emotional journeys I've ever taken.
I'm meteorologist Jacqueline Whittle, standing just outside of Granbury, where an EF4 tornado touched down in the area.
Within 3 days, we were walking through a damaged path in Granbury, Texas, which was an EF4. So right away, it was a big reality check.
I just want to show you what an EF4 tornado can do to one home right beside me here. This home completely leveled. You can see the foundation sort of lying there, but the rest of it's a pile of rubble.
We thought we'd come out to see what help was needed out here, and so we realized that this home had been demolished. It's one of the many homes that have been demolished, and we just pulled in, and here we are picking up debris. Anything we can do to help.
You can see some of the wood gets shredded. It just gets peeled apart and shredded. Glass is one of the first things to go, so you can see there's just little bits and pieces of the glass left.
Being meteorologists, we feel like we can learn so much by being out there in the field and watching these storms. But it happened quick, and I think it immediately made our storm chase a little bit more somber right out of the gates.
We're just near Sunset, Texas, and we're hearing reports that there is another tornado on the ground.
Right now, we actually can't continue down the road because if we're going to have a tornado, it's going to be right in front of us. We keep driving down the road, we're going to be right in the middle of it. So we have to be very, very careful. Lightning danger is extreme here, so we're not going to spend...
It's definitely going, guys. It's definitely going.
Okay, we want to get it.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
It's on the ground. Down.
Tornado.
Tornado.
Perfect. Perfect, let's do it.
This is at least the second tornado that we've seen, and it is moving very slowly, so we can actually get up fairly close to it. We're going to continue on and get up and personal with this tornado.
We are in Oklahoma, just north of a town called Lawton, and you can see some of these cells are starting to go up. We're seeing our active radar imagery as we travel in the car here.
We knew what was going on around us. We could see that this was going to be a dangerous day.
Very large dangerous tornado heading into Moore, Oklahoma. I know, hold on. It's going to our north. I've never heard a roar like that before.
Watching a consistent radar signature of a tornado.
We're hearing reports that there is another tornado on the ground.
I've never heard a roar like that before.
We saw several power flashes across that farm. It looks like at this time it's tracking right for us.
You need to be below ground immediately.
When we first pulled up, we got in maybe 3 or 4 hours after the tornado. We had been chasing down farther south of Oklahoma City in an area called Duncan. And it was just this absolutely eerie place to be, because you're in a functioning city, and yet here you are in the middle of this. We walked over to where the damage was, and literally just in this destruction path, hundreds of people could have been trapped right around us. That was hard. That was really hard to deal with.
It's very shocking to think about what is in this rubble, what's behind us. Everything just scattered about.
Right here is the heart of the tornado as it passed through. This is an extraordinarily destructive tornado, and it was just, to me, it's just a stunning thing.
The areas had been searched, and we were told there were no more survivors.
But because it's such a chaotic situation, they didn't know for sure.
A group of Marines came over, and they heard moaning in the rubble right where we were standing.
Jack and I sort of looked at each other and said, "Oh my God, did we just do a bunch of news hits beside somebody who could be dying?" It brought it home. It immediately said, "Okay, wow, this is a horrible event that's happened. It's not just a meteorological event. People died here."
The extraordinary amount of damage even here is absolutely stunning to me.
Right at that same moment, when they were digging through the rubble, the Marines found a flag that was, I think, underneath a vehicle or somewhere. It's so hard to make sense of where anything is. But they found a U.S. flag, and you could see them just sort of pull it out of the area underneath this car. And it was like they didn't speak. They just grabbed the flag, they grabbed the post, and so slowly and gracefully just, raised this flag in the air before our eyes. And naturally, like all of us, we start snapping pictures. And I think that seeing that flag raised symbolized hope for the people of Moore.
The next day, we were by the strip mall.
This here was a plaza, a strip mall. We all know what those are like. It had the typical nail salon in it, a couple other small businesses, including a daycare.
And we saw this man walking around, and we kindly went up to him and had no idea what he was up to. And he was very emotionally distraught, as his daughter was the owner of the daycare.
This gentleman was telling us just a minute ago that this was a daycare, and his daughter runs it, and she saved the lives of, I think, 9 children in this daycare.
So he took us around, and he showed us where they all hid. If you saw the pile of rubble, you would never believe that anybody lived.
I can't even, this is unbelievable. The damage is incredible.
As the building collapsed on top, she stuck her head up and she literally felt everything sort of go very white and dizzy, and she sort of said, "Oh, this is it, I'm going to die." And they all survived. Every one of them survived. So she basically rescued, something like 10 kids, including the 7-week-old baby.
9 adults and 12 children came out from under that.
You would never believe that anybody lived. So it was remarkable, and he was so proud of her, and I immediately filled up with tears because I was just so happy that they all lived, and I just can't imagine for him as a father, what that meant to him. So it was remarkable, that experience.
Somebody was obviously looking out for you.
Absolutely. No doubt.
We thought more was going to be the worst thing that we saw on this chase trip, and in many ways it was, but the absolute nightmare scenario for all chasers was yet to come.
This is the last day, really. Tonight we're sort of head back towards the east, back towards home. It's potentially one heck of a way to end a chase trip on a high-risk day.
Last day, and we were exhausted by this point because we'd been doing 16-hour days every day, every day. We never took a break.
Sometimes people will chase, their whole lives and never see damage like Moore or witness an EF5 or, once we saw Moore, we didn't think that we could see anything worse than that.
I'm meteorologist Jacqueline Woodall for the Weather Network, along with storm hunter meteorologist Mark Robinson. We are on a cell just west of El Reno, Oklahoma.
The morning of the El Reno tornado was one of the tensest I've ever had.
Today comes with a bit of a attachment, and that is that these storms are likely to fire around Oklahoma City. We hope that these storms do stay isolated and not in populated areas, but I think that there's this little voice in the back of our minds that is saying, geez, I hope this does not end bad today.
The ingredients that day that the Storm Prediction Center was discussing was off the charts.
There are what we call tornado vortex signatures coming up on our radar. We're seeing quite a bit of rotation on radar. We're seeing velocity couplets. So all the things that would say that a tornado will be on the ground.
And we were waiting and waiting and waiting.
The National Weather Service has put out a tornado warning indicating that people should be underground.
Around 1 mile north of the El Reno Airport.
There's a tornado on the ground. We just heard just 1 mile north of the El Reno Airport.
George Karunas, host of Angry Planet, radios us and says there's a very large tornado on the ground.
Auto Club, large rain wrap tornado just south of Interstate 40.
Large tornado on the ground, somewhere in that mess of rain.
We saw this rain-wrapped tornado. We knew there was a tornado in there, and then all of a sudden it moved very fast, pushing southeast.
For now, I'm meteorologist Jacqueline Woodall for the Weather Network.
I heard the wind like I've never heard the wind before.
Our entire chase lasted, to get to our target area was about 45 minutes.
We're just going to stay right here and watch, continue to report, and get as much information back to the National Weather Service as possible, because this is a very dangerous situation occurring here in El Reno, Oklahoma.
It just crossed right in front of us, power flashes. Big, holy smokes.
It's such a massive tornado.
The National Weather Service has put out a tornado warning, encouraging people to take shelter right now. If they do have the ability to get underground, that is where they want to be. The other big part of the danger is take a look at the amount of chasers. Mark, if you could just get that shot. Take a look at the amount of chasers that are on the roads today.
and you could see the little pieces of debris blowing by our car into the tornado.
We had no idea the biggest tornado was going to be produced. And we were going down the road literally screaming at people to get out of the way. This thing was bad and it was going to kill people.
So now we had to stop. As you're getting away, you actually have to stop. That was the moment that I felt like anything could happen at that moment.
It literally was my nightmare scenario. A gigantic wedge tornado coming at us with a traffic jam to the south and no way to get out of its path.
That tornado moved onto the I-40 and then ultimately dissipated. But I will never assume anything. Nobody anticipated that the El Reno tornado would do what it did. So I'm not the same chaser that I once was.
In the rain, I see a really faded grayish cone, and all I see is really rapid motion around it. So it was right there. Yeah. It pretty much crossed the road where we were first watching.
We saw some tour groups flipping U-turns while locals are trying to flee, and you feel horrible for the locals because they don't know what they're looking at. They're terrified. It was just a bad situation.
That was the biggest problem, is that people were just out there going, oh, it's so pretty, I can look at it, it isn't dangerous. And this year, El Reno reminded us of what these things can do.
I caught a glimpse of it, and there was one point where I'm filming and the lightning flashed, and it was huge.
When Mark and I left on our storm chasing trip, we had no idea that we were going to witness the widest, largest recorded tornado in U.S. history.
The trip back, we were just like, we were happy to go home this year because it had been such a devastating year in terms of emotions to physical destruction to everything.